Electricity starts the outward journey from non-motion to mass with intense motion, ends with non-motion, and then transfers its energy to assist magnetism on the return journey. Conversely, magnetism starts the outward journey from non-motion to mass with intense opposition to motion, ends with non-motion, and begins the return journey with intense motion. Magnetism is overtaken on the return journey to plane by the intense speed of low potential, the impetus of which causes its regeneration on the positive side of the inertial plane. The speed-time dimension of the magnetic return exactly equals the power-time dimension of the electric start. Each of the opposing forces conquers the other by simulating the desire of the other. Thus does this universe of more and less alternate between the more and the less, by exchange of the balances of power and speed from one to the other. Thus is all motion characterized by oscillation. Thus is all oscillation decelerated from the trillions per second in small mass to the 1 in centuries in big mass. Thus does the power time conquer speed time by absorbing its speed, and speed time conquer power time by dissipating its power. Thus does the preponderantly male accumulate the female in each oscillation until eventually the female is preponderant. Thus does the preponderantly red end of the spectrum accumulate the blue until the blue end is preponderant in violet. Thus do all effects of motion alternate in preponderance as each opposite force conquers the other by yielding to its desire. For a concrete example of one of these effects, let us consider the 4 inner planets of our solar system, which are sufficiently expanded in relation to each other to revolve and rotate freely, in accordance with the rule that bodies moving in inner orbits revolve faster and rotate slower than do those of outer orbits. If these 4 planets had been heated together and set out to cool as one solid mass, each mass forming concentric rings or shells, one around the other, their power time conditions in revolution would be reversed in rotation. Mercury revolves at about 29 miles per second and circles the Sun 4 times to the Earth's once. Venus moves about 22 miles per second and circles the Sun more than twice to the Earth's once. The Earth revolves about 18 miles each second. Mars slows down to 15 miles and takes nearly 2 years to complete one circuit of the Sun. The process of generation of mass reverses this order in rotation. Consider, for example, the Earth as a contracted, complex, rigid solid. A mass on its surface at the equator rotates about 1,000 miles per hour. A mass 1,000 miles below the surface rotates about 750 miles per hour. 1,000 miles deeper and the speed is but 500 miles. 3,000 miles down, the speed reduces to 250 miles per hour, and at 4,000 miles practically ceases. In any mass, the speed of rotation of bound energy increases in the direct universal ratio from the gravitative center of force. In any system, the speed of revolution of separated equal masses of bound energy revolving in the same plane decreases in the inverse universal ratio from the center of force. In any system, accelerated revolution increases power time dimension, and accelerated rotation increases speed time dimension. In any mass, decelerated rotation increases power time dimension, and decelerated revolution increases speed time dimension. In any mass or system, the decrease in rotation or revolution is in inverse universal ratio and is balanced by a corresponding increase of the opposite effect in direct ratio. When opposing forces conquer each other by simulating each other's attributes in motion, They also simulate each other's mathematical ratios of increase and decrease. There is but one force, and when each apparently opposite exchanges attributes of motion, it exchanges ratios in conformity with these changes. The difference is only a difference in the appearance of form in mass due to contraction or expansion, and in time dimension due to a reversal of ratios. Never for one moment does the appearance of form in mass escape from the governing plane of the reality of form in concept in inertia. Plane follows mass, governs mass, and affects its evolution. Plane eventually dominates mass and controls it till its dissolution. Mass is stored energy bound into form as potential energy. To be stored energy must be frozen into a dense, rigid solid. Mass, in freezing, must radiate its heat. Radiation cools. Radiation is preponderant where expanding magnetic bases meet at the ecliptic planes of masses. Where magnetic bases meet each other in mass, the speed of rotation is at its maximum. Cooling mass contracts. Contraction is preponderant where charging poles intersect ecliptic planes at the gravitative centers of all masses. At gravitative centers, the speed of rotation disappears and revolution increases. Both of these effects of motion are expressions of power-time, increasing positive charge and increasing potential. Generation expresses its conquest over radiation through resistance to the magnetic force as expressed in decelerated rotation and accelerated revolution. Radiation expresses its conquest over generation through resistance to the electric forces as expressed in accelerated rotation and decelerated revolution. The final conquest of electricity is at the true point of north, where both accelerated revolution and decelerated rotation end in non-motion at the end of the outward journey to mass. At this point, the charging poles equalize preparatory to their reversal. In this bisexual position, the appearance of stability in motion in opposition has reached its maximum. The final conquest of magnetism is at the inertial plane of south, where both decelerated revolution and accelerated rotation end in non-motion at the end of the return journey to plane. It will be remembered that electricity desires the accumulation of energy into rigid bodies of non-motion and expresses that desire through resistance to a force established by itself and opposed by magnetism. It will be remembered that magnetism opposes motion, but is forced to react equally to every electric action of induced motion. It will therefore be seen that the composition and decomposition of mass is but a series of alternate electric conquest over magnetism, followed by magnetic conquest over electricity. Electric conquest through motion, which ends in a simulation of non-motion, results in the appearance of rigid bodies. Electricity winds the cosmic clock to its ultimate binding point, at the point of north, where force unites with force to create a dead center of non-force. Magnetic conquest through motion, which ends in a simulation of non-motion, results in the disappearance of rigid bodies. Magnetism unwinds the cosmic clock to its ultimate releasing point at the plane of south, where force departs from force to create a dead center of non-force.